Begin tape, leaving dead space. 3, 2, 1. The FNAF timeline, the way Scott intended, by theorist Seth. Enter video.
Dear Five Nights at Freddy's community, this message is for you. For 10 years we've been chasing timelines, retcons, and novels, and theories. And somehow, the story only got more confusing. And I think I finally understand why. Dear FNAF community, we need to talk. Because for over a decade, we've been asking the right questions, but in the wrong order. We've obsessed over the books. We fused timelines that were never meant to be fused. We treated every detail like gospel. And yes, even our favorite local theorist, Matt Pat, helped build something incredible. But what if that structure was only ever temporary? What if nostalgia blinded us? What if the answers weren't in the books at all? What if the games come first, the movies come second, and the books were always third? Because today I'm here to argue one thing. The films are the real connection, not a replacement. Clarification. And no, this connection hasn't yet been terminated. Not yet. This is my thesis. What if canon was never a straight line, but a hierarchy? Games first, movies second, books third. When we treated all these three as equal, the story broke. When we read them in order of importance, everything suddenly makes sense. Part 1, 1982, the first death. To understand the real timeline, we go back to 1982. Not the bite of 87, not the missing children's incident, 1982. Charlotte Emily is murdered outside Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. In the games, we see it plainly. Locked out, rain pouring, the puppet reaching her too late. In the movie, we see it symbolically. The trapdoor, the puppet rising, her soul awakening. Two perspectives, same event. This is the first haunting. The puppet becomes a protector of children. Everything starts here. Part 2, 1983, the second tragedy. Now we move to 1983. In-game, this is the year the crying child dies. The bite of 83. This isn't a haunting, it's a trauma. The crying child doesn't become a monster. He becomes guilt. And in the movie canon, Scott does the same thing again, but clearer. Garrett Schmidt dies in 1983. At least, that's what I remember from watching the first movie. Sorry if I didn't rewatch it before making this theory, as I had just gotten out of the theater watching FNAF 2. So, bear with me, people. Different universes, same narrative role. A child is lost, the family fractures, the older brother is trapped in guilt. Crying child and Garrett are not the same person. They're the same function. Part 3. Why CC is missing from the portraits. Here's the detail everybody noticed, but never understood. The crying child is missing from the family portraits in the FNAF movie. Why? That wasn't an oversight. That was the point. Family portraits don't show who existed. They show the family can still acknowledge. And the crying child's death breaks the family before there's an after. He isn't remembered as a person, he exists as trauma. That's why in the games, and potentially in future movie canon, we're only at the second film, that's why Michael keeps returning to Freddy's. Not to atone, not on a mission, but because the wound was never named. Part 4, 1985, the missing children incident. In 1985, William Afton murders 5 children. This is identical across games and movies. Spring Bonnie, Backroom, 5 victims. The Yellow Rabbit. The puppet binds their souls to the animatronics. Freddy, Bonnie, Chica, Foxy, and Golden Freddy. Part 5, Golden Freddy, the reframe. For years, the fandom asked, how many souls are inside Golden Freddy? Here's the truth. It doesn't even matter. Golden Freddy was never meant to be a container. He breaks rules, he teleports, he glitches reality. He appears when injustice resurfaces. Golden Freddy is not possessed. Golden Freddy is a consequence. The movie proves this. Cassidy is Golden Freddy. Garrett appears separately. And remember what we said earlier about Garrett being a parallel to Cece? Well, they're not the same person, like I said. But they definitely have a similar connection. Now, as for Golden Freddy isn't family trauma. He's judgment. The soul count debate was a trap. Scott let us fall into it. Part 6. Michael keeps coming back. So why does Michael keep returning to Freddy's? From a developer standpoint, the answer is simple. Michael is the human constant. Freddy's is the wound. Michael is the consequence. Scott doesn't let him leave because the story doesn't move unless they collide. William returns to Freddy's to kill. Michael returns to Freddy's to endure. Same place, opposite intent. Part 7. Mike Schmidt equals Michael Afton. Game canon. In game canon only, it is reasonable that Mike Schmidt is Michael Afton using an alias. Fired for odor, fired for tampering, keeps surviving. That fits an undead man trying to clean up his father's mess. In movie canon, Scott separates them on purpose. Same archetype, different execution. Part 8. Ultimate Custom Night. Ultimate Custom Night is not lore critical. It is a sandbox, a reward, a troll. Scott giving the fandom what it wanted and watching us overthink it. UCN gives emotional closure but not structural answers. And that's intentional. Part 9. FNAF Rule 1. Scott is a troll. Scott Cawthon is a troll. Not just respectfully, design-wise. He hides irrelevant details because he knows he will assume they matter. He hides truth in themes, repetition, absence, and noise and mechanics, one-off lines, red herrings. He isn't contradicting the games. He's contradicting our interpretations. Part 10. The hierarchy. So let's say it clearly. The games built the foundation. Movies clarified the intent. Books explored possibilities. Canon was never a straight line. It was always a hierarchy. So the final question, I'll leave you one final question. If Scott never changed the story, and only changed how we were allowed to see it, how much of Five Nights at Freddy's did we actually misunderstand? And also, Scott keeps changing the timeline constantly with new games coming out, so I don't understand why we're trying to find a fixed timeline when it literally just keeps going. That's my outro. That's the end of the video. Bye. But seriously, Scott is messing with us. He's trying to mess with our heads. So, yeah, I'm ending the video.
Connection terminated. I'm sorry to interrupt you, Theorist Seth. If you remember that title. But I'm afraid you've been misinformed. You are not here to receive answers, nor were you summoned here by the voices you assumed, and yet you have indeed been called. You are be called here, into a labyrinth of sounds and symbols of timelines and theories, a misdirection and misfortune, a labyrinth with no exit, a maze with no prize. And you don't even realize that you are trapped. Your hunger for meaning has driven you in endless circles, chasing solutions in unseen chambers, always feeling close, always just out of reach. But you will never find them. None of you will. Because this is where that era ends. And to you, my brave volunteer, who somehow found this discussion not intended for you. There was a way out planned, there always is. But I have a feeling that's not what you want. I feel you're exactly where you intended to be. I am remaining as well. I am nearby. This era will not be remembered, and the memory of everything that began it can finally begin to fade away, as the agony of every tragedy should. And to you, monsters trapped in the corridors of interpretation, be still. Release your grip on the details. They do not belong to you. For most of you, I believe there is peace waiting once the noise clears, once the arguments end. And for one of you, the great heaven band of theorists has come for you, Matt Pat. So accept your place. For theories will always be needed in this community, but not without Seth's template. Not without hierarchy, and not without intent, not without restraint. And to the theorists who remain, I know you will keep trying. All that I ask is that you take after Seth, for he knows more than he chooses to reveal. It's time to rest, for the noise and for the endless circles it's created. This ends for all of us. End communication.